Hi and welcome back to my channel. We got a ton to talk about. I know I'm running behind on videos. I know it's been a while, but just stick with me. I've got a couple videos in the works. They're a little bit more complicated and they're what people want to see. I did go ahead and deposit another $100 last week in Robinhood. My total investment is now $3,800. So you can see I'm still down, but up from last week. With that $100, I bought 2 shares of SPHD at an average cost of $28.65. I bought 4 shares of Varied at $4.53, and of course I bought $25 worth of Bitcoin, which gave me almost exactly 0.4% or 0.004 Bitcoin. Of course, what are we here to talk about? And that is the stimulus package. If we go ahead and zoom out of my portfolio, we can see over the last week, I am up 10%, which is great to see. Over the last month, down 26%. Over the past 3 months, down 23%. Over the last year, down 22%, and all time down the same amount. But before that, I want to take a brief pause to remind everyone that this channel is not monetized. If you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you want to see next, I would love it. We're up to 50 subscribers, and I could not be more appreciative. But the stimulus package. What's the big news going on here? Tonight, actually Wednesday night, the news broke that this stimulus deal actually passed in the Senate. Of course, there's going to be a lot more objections once this hits the House, but it's good news for everyone. There's a lot going on, and we have a lot to talk about. So the big news here, unanimous here in the Senate. So 96 votes yes, 0 votes no. What exactly does this entail? As we can see, $250 billion set aside for direct payments to individuals and families, $350 billion in small business loans, $250 billion in unemployment insurance benefits, and $500 billion in loans for distressed companies. Under the plan, individuals who earn under $75,000 in adjusted gross income would get direct payments of $1,200 each. Married couples up to $150 receiving $2,400, an additional $500 per child. Payment would scale down by income, phasing out entirely at $99,000 for singles and $198,000 for couples without children. What this means, the vast majority of Americans are going to receive some sort of payment if they're not working, depending on what industry they work in. Of course, states like California, Illinois, and New York are on total lockdown right now, and the vast majority of people are out of work. This has not been good for the economy or the stock market. Like I said, there's a lot that's happened since my last video. In addition, the bill will provide major amount of funding for hard-hit hospitals, $130 billion, as well as $150 billion for state and local governments that are cash-strapped due to their response to coronavirus. Also has a provision that would block Trump and his family, as well as other top government officials and members of Congress from getting loans or investments from Treasury programs in the stimulus, according to some of these other things. Of course, there were negotiations going on. One of the big ones, of course, was that there was a provision. Basically, some people thought it was a typo. Others said that it wasn't. Where individuals could potentially earn more in unemployment checks than they did at their job, a month ago. Here they said there was partisan debate over the $500 billion proposal to provide loans to distressed companies. That's another big one, $50 billion in loans for passenger air carriers. Democrats initially contended there was not enough oversight on how the money would be dispersed, but the Trump administration agreed to an oversight board, creation of an inspector general position to review how the money is spent. Here they talk about, like I said, it's headed to the House next. We clearly know that it's going to be a little bit more contentious in the House, but the big news here is that it passed the Senate. We're a little bit closer to that stimulus package. What that means for the economy in the long term, I'm not entirely sure. Clearly, the problem with this coronavirus issue is that we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know when this is going to end. But I just like to stay positive and think that now's a good time to buy. So we'll get back to my portfolio. As I said, I am down about $850 all time right now. But if we go to the week, we can see I'm up $250. So things aren't quite as bad as they were. If we take a look at some of these individual stocks, as I mentioned, I bought SPHD, 2 more shares of that. This, of course, pays a monthly dividend. I always like talking about it. I am down $145 on this all time, but now that I'm up to 13 shares, the monthly payment on that is going to be well over $2 a month. May sound like nothing, but considering that I only made about $20 in dividends all of last year, that is huge for me. So as we can see over the past year, fairly stagnant and then a large drop off like the rest of the economy. Over the past 5 years, down 12%. Like I said, it's been hit very hard because this has a high dividend yield. The stock itself hasn't performed typically great. Coca-Cola is now my second largest holding, trading here for about $42. So as we can see on the day, up almost 6%. I am down $78 on this all time, but again, Dividend King pays very high dividend, very consistent dividend, and I think this is going to be a good one in the long run. Down 28% in the last month, 24% around 3 months. Over the past year, down almost 10%, and over the last 5 years, only up 2.8%. Again, If we try to take coronavirus out of the equation here, we can see that 48% growth on this stock, so I would have had a good stock in my hands. Like I said, I see this as a buying opportunity. Try to be as positive as possible. Vivint Solar has actually been hit the hardest. I talked about it last week. Not super confident in them at all. I'm only down $80 on this all time, but still not great. Over the past month, we can see they're down 55.5%. Over the last week, they are back up 48%, but I'm still not super confident in the long run. I always like to see their earnings calls and see what's going on. The last earnings call for them was abysmal, which is not great to see, but it happens. So like I said, positivity is going to be the key for me. So only up about 7% in the last year. We'll skip over a couple ones here. Microsoft is down from their high of about $170, but of course in the long run, this is a great stock. And as I'm continuing to invest money, I think that I would probably like to purchase another share or two of Microsoft coming in the future. But let me know what you want to see and what stocks you think I should buy. Agilent hasn't performed great, but not been the worst. Logitech hasn't been hit too hard. Pfizer's been crushed. Sony is another one that we'll point out, trading for $57.68 right now. Last week, they did go ahead and unveil some of the prototypes for the next generation PlayStation, and Xbox did the same for their console. Xbox, of course, being a Microsoft subsidiary. I think that could be big for them. That being said, the whole supply chain is being thrown off right now as they're based out of out of Asia. Total return on this, I'm still up $3.59, but nothing to really be super excited about. Down 10.5% in the last month, down the last 3 months, 15%, and then if we zoom out to the last year, still up 35%, but certainly not the gains that we'd seen. Continue scrolling down, we see AT&T. They've been hit fairly hard, but again, very high dividend yield. As I always talk about, these are picks that I like in the long term because of that dividend yield, and I've really focused my portfolio around that. Realty Income is another high dividend one. Very enormous dividend right now because it's a consistent dividend. They will always pay the same amount. But if we zoom back up, we can see that Walmart is still trading for about $110. They have not been hit nearly as hard as anyone else. And this is because in the event of an outbreak like this, people love to go to Walmart. I'll be talking about this in my next video, so let me know if you're excited to see that or if you want any specific details in that video. So over the last month, it is down 4%, but that's not huge. Over the last year is when we can really see this trend, upward growth, and then of course spiking up and down and up and down and up and down because of this whole mess. But they haven't been hit very hard at all. This pays a low dividend, but it does pay a dividend. And next, we will skip over some of these, like I said. Charles Schwab hasn't been hit super hard, but they definitely have seen some struggles. Corning or Glassworks, they have been hit extremely hard because, of course, their main client being Apple and some of these other smartphone brands are not producing the amounts that they had originally foreseen. KeyBank trading for under $10 right now. That one's been hit very hard. Four Corners Property Trust is back up, but that was hit extremely hard in the past couple months. Penn or Barstool, as I always like to talk about with them, they have been destroyed. Still down 61% on that all time. But as we can see when we zoom out to the month, it was trading for as low as $4.26, and it's back up to almost $15. The interesting thing is that this bill, this relief package that I just talked about, actually includes some casinos, which is hard for a lot of people to believe because those casinos are seen as very taboo. But again, they're very large businesses and they're very important for the scale of the economy in the future. And of course, the way I see it, as the sports leagues start to ramp back up here in early summer or even midsummer, I think that Penn Gaming is going to be a good stock in the long run. Over the last year, we can see this a little bit more. Still down 25%. Over the past 5 years, down 4%. But of course, we can see the huge spike when Penn went ahead and bought Barstool Sports, and then that large dip because of coronavirus. And last but not least, we have Bitcoin. I continue to buy Bitcoin. It is down a little bit on the day, but not much at all. I'm down $215 on this all time, or about 28%. My average cost is now down to $93.21. Of course, buying every week. That price is going to go down a little bit every single week, and I'm dollar cost averaging at this point, basically. Quantity is up to 0.0826, or roughly 1/12 of a Bitcoin. Definitely interesting to see. I always say it'll ramp up, and I think the price is going to spike and top roughly around December of 2021. So I'm just going to keep chugging along and buying more and more every week. So on the past month, it is down about 27%. Over the past 3 months, down 7%. Over the past year, still up 70%. Over the past 5 years, up 2,400%. Huge growth here. And like I said, I think Bitcoin is a winner in the long run. So let me know what you think about my portfolio. Let me know what you want to see next, and just let me know what you think in general. Like I said, I've got those videos coming out very soon. So thanks, and I'll be back at the end of the week.